Okay, my claim is that Mars, which is Mars right here, this trench right across is wider than the United States, was hit by Venus. And here's Venus's scar right here, which is more electric because Venus spins backwards, creating enormous magnetic field. And it was more of a discharge into Mars than it was an actual impact, but it's quite obviously it dug deep into here. Whether it was actually literally scraped the surface, I don't know. But the damn sure killed Mars, and that's why it's the red planet, because of all of the death. All right, you're going to see this in a minute. This is very distressing. I commented on NASA about this pure sulfur that's inside this rock they ran over, which I will be showing you the details on in a minute. I have one here that's exactly the same. You see these little divots and pockets in here? It's exactly the same as this. This is a lung. And this mud right here was the guy's flesh. They drove over the mud and accidentally cracked some of this open. And when it cracked open, they found pure sulfur. They said, wow, what the hell is this all about? They have no clue what it's about. I do. I can tell you exactly what it is. I can tell you exactly how it formed. And it formed because of extreme ionization of phospholipids, which are biology membranes. I'm going to explain it to you in great detail. And they blocked me. I'm blocked from NASA, I'm blocked from Fermilab, I'm blocked from every single site, and it's because people report me as misinformation. And then their algorithm says, don't let this guy out. Don't let him be seen by anybody. Just block him. And that's what's happened to me for the last 15 years. Okay, once again, extremely beyond cool. These are the tire tracks of the rover, and it is on Mars. Now, they ran over a little chunk of rock here that had a whole bunch of little holes in it, just like this. So there was mud all around it, and then they crunched through this little piece here. Now let's see what that looks like as they crunch through it. All right, here is, he's saying, the heavy rover rolling over a soft rock. Thanks to the result of a heavy rover rolling over a soft rock. All right, and this is the result right here. Now watch the different texture of this and this muddy stuff that's around it. These are the tire tracks, and this is where it got crunched right here. So let's watch this. Now look at this carefully. This is literally identical. Do you see this? It's identical. The mud is identical too. This is the same. It's identical. Now, this, don't forget, is virtually all phosphates and phosphorus. And again, I think I showed you that irradiation can bump up. It doesn't decay downwards. It bumps up to pure sulfur. And phosphorus appears to be easily bumped up to pure sulfur. I mean, that's solid sulfur. And the reason is there's no protection from the sun up there. This is called ionization. And ions are when heavy particles come in, really strong particles come in, they bang out electrons and so forth, or they add to electrons. Ionization means they change the atomic particle. In this case, because they're getting bombarded with extra electrons, it goes from phosphorus up to sulfur. That's the sulfur. That's why you're seeing sulfur. All right, when you boil phosphorus and when you heat it in a solution, it decays downwards to aluminum silicates. And all feldspar basically is aluminum silicates. And virtually everything is covered with feldspar. That's feldspar. This is feldspar. That's feldspar. Everything's feldspar. I think it's like, well, hold on a second. All right, you see this? During the Great Flood, the membranes boiled down to aluminum silicates, and they are virtually all the rocks. Listen to this, feldspar. This is what we're talking about. They're everywhere. Feldspar, sometimes spelled feldspar, is a group of rock-forming aluminum tectosilicates, which means aluminum silicates, also containing other different things in their cations, such as sodium, calcium, potassium, barium. Those are things in your bones and so forth as well. The most common members of the feldspar group are plagioclases. I got tons of those, which they have sodium, calcium feldspars, and the alkali, potassium, sodium feldspars, which are the aluminum silicates. Every one of them is based around aluminum and silicate. Aluminum tectosilicate minerals. Aluminum silicates with other different things in them. Now, feldspars make up 60% of the Earth's crust and 41% of Earth's continental crust by weight. So it's everywhere because the membranes are everywhere. The membranes cover literally everything, and they are the things that sealed these creatures. Now, when they say it makes up all that, it doesn't really, because inside, if they looked at this here, they look at Caesar, my goose. There's his feathers there. I love this guy. He's my buddy. Now, you look at Caesar and you say, oh, that's feldspar. Well, yes, but inside it's basalt or whatever it is, limestone, but it's coated with fascia, because even anything that is outside, like your skin, feathers, they protect you from stuff coming in. And that's how they protected in this wet environment. But I boiled it down to aluminum silicates. And because of that particular type of material, it will let stuff come through, but it didn't destroy it. And it let the stuff come through that was surrounded it. So the stuff surrounding it had to be this kind of stuff. And it went in, it's called nucleophilic substitution and invasion. The membranes are not affected. The membranes are the protector. All right, sometimes they get completely eroded, like this one. This should have had a really heavy-duty membrane like this one. All right, at one time, that was very similar to this. It had this type of a fabric on there. This one died and got heavily eroded. This one died and didn't, but they're both flat. You see the flatness there? Now this one died in the mud, and some of its bones and everything stayed, and so that's a lot of biology going on in here. I put some water and stuff in here and look at a microscope. There's a ton of blood and stuff that has drained down from his lungs. And these are all the little holes with the alveoli of the lungs inside, and this is where the backbone runs, right there. And some of those bones are still here, little bits and pieces here and there. But that was a lung at one time. And that right there is the spur lock. You see it? That's the spur lock that comes down. That little triangular piece would have held this into the guy's body, just the way this does. All right, it's this way here. All right, but this piece is the same as this piece. You see the triangle coming down? And I got all kinds of stuff to show that same architecture. That's called a spur lock. Something brand new, and it also has a place in there to transfer the fluids from this particular bag into the next bag, because they're different fluids. They have to be, because they're protecting different chemistry. And if one fluid isn't good, you'll get cancer of that particular organ. That's why there's 100 different cancers. Every organ has its own bag full of chemistry. And there's got to be something that separates it, and it has to happen right at that point, because this bag is full of its own fluid, completely separated from everything else in the body. Nothing can get through to there, but it has to keep this fluid moving with all the other fluids. Something is going on there. I do not know what, but it is a complete separation, and that separation happens right where these two points are. That's what it is. This was flesh at one time, turned into mud the same way this does. This was flesh. It was completely covered with flesh. The guy's chest, his breasts and all that stuff, or her breasts, whoever it was. And it turns into mud when it erodes. Same as this. And the lungs, though, the alveoli don't, because they're not part of the fleshy part. And it ran over this and it just crunched it. Same as you would crunch through that thing, because it's like a sponge, you know. It's a crunchy little sponge. This thing weighs 1,200 pounds. Crunched over. Look, this is it. This is exactly identical. There is no difference. Now, I did smash through here, right there, to see if I could find any sulfur in this, and I don't think I found any at all to speak of. But I did the same as they did here. But this has not been irradiated. And that was irradiated from day one. All right, because as soon as the thing hit, it wiped out all of their atmosphere, and it boiled all these creatures just like it did on Earth, right down to this, just like here. Same thing, same. Only that will be irradiated and bump up. I call it the atomic bump from phosphorus up to sulfur, just like I showed you. Now, hold on one second. Okay, my friends, another shocker du jour. This is NASA JPL up on at the Curiosity rover, leaving the Geddes-Valles channel. They're having a 360 on this. It's, like I say, NASA JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Now, this came out 4 hours ago. Now, I've been talking about Mars a lot. Now, here's my comment, and I want to see if it stays here. Mudfossil University, let me put it on YouTube. On YouTube. Has evidence Mars had life. The image is from 2014. I believe it was 2014. Might have been 2015. I think it's 2014. Are undeniable. Go to my YouTube channel and see. Now I'm going to put this comment up there. First, I want to just be positive it's 2014. All right, so here I am commenting on Mars, and it was from 2012. Actually, it landed there. I think the stuff I saw was from 2014, and it was the Mars Morse code, the Mars crab, and the Mars blueberries, which are identical to the Moki marbles. And I explained the biology. Now I'm going to comment. Sometimes I don't get allowed to comment. Let's see what happens. All right, so it's up there. I'm going to give myself a thumbs up. Good going, Roger. Yeah, thank you. The real reason they are trying to stop people digging whatever. I would love to be on Joe Rogan. I think he would like to have me, but I don't think he knows I exist. I can't get through to anybody. I don't know what it is. I'm just like stuck in a little bubble. Okay, as I've been telling you, I know what they're doing. I finally figured out how they're suppressing my channel, and they're just basically destroying it. I'm not going to explain it to you, but trust me, that's what's going on. I've been suppressed by everybody, and I can't talk at NASA or Fermilab or any of the universities. I'm completely blocked in virtually every venue. And as you can see, I'm not doing too well with my channel. You see this? I pay a hell of a lot of taxes. I just put this comment up there and they banned me. They blocked me. I'm not up here anymore. Why am I blocked? Let's see what happens now. Why am I blocked? Why the hell am I blocked? I'm blocked from everywhere. I'll be blocked again, I'm sure. They got me down from virtually everywhere. Family Lab, I can't talk. I can't talk anywhere. Locked down, out of sight, and they're just the only time I've never mentioned, but they do take credit for my work. Yale does. Derek Briggs did. And other ones too. I've seen other ones about my fascia. They've taken credit for that. All the stuff. As soon as you put it up, somebody will take credit for it. But they'll twist it just enough to make it sound. But it will be wrong. But that's okay. They don't care, just as long as they get funded. I don't care about funding. I just want it to be right. Okay, so let's see what they have to say at NASA. I'm going to start it up. Here we go. This is a 360, so they're going to be looking around. Now, the red planet, I say, is because it killed all the creatures, and this is literally from the red bloody erosion. The same thing as the red bed in the Triassic layer on Earth. Exactly the same, only this didn't continue the way the Triassic layer did. Most of the stuff got sent off into space, so here goes. Dark, uncertain soundscape. Curiosity captured this view just before driving out. What are they looking at over there? Hold on, let me put this on pause. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'll turn it all the way off. All right, the Curiosity Mars rover captured this view just before driving out of this crater. Look for the sulfur stones nearby. That's where Curiosity discovered pure sulfur. They cracked through. I did a video on this. I have the exact, let me show you something. Hold on, stay with me, don't go nowhere. I got it somewhere here if I can find it. It is the lung that is the same as what they have. Ah, here it is. See, if you look long enough, you can find almost anything. Now, this is what they cracked through up on Mars. What happened was they were driving across some of this stuff, and they hit the little edge of the lung, and they cracked through it. And inside is raw sulfur. Now, why would raw sulfur be inside of a rock like this, which is a lung? And this is the guy's back. You see little bits and pieces of bone? He died laying flat like this. And then after everything was all done, and it was all eroded off, these are the alveoli holes in the lung. You can see they're virtually identical. And there's just a ton of little, it's like a sponge in there. And they drove over and cracked it. Now, the reason why there's sulfur in here is because this was irradiated from phosphorus. This is an extreme amount of phosphorus here in lungs. It got irradiated and bumped up to sulfur, which is what will happen from radiation to phosphorus in the membranes. It will bump up to sulfur. That's why they found sulfur. And here's the reason. Well, I have to go through the isotopes, but it's right here. Phosphorus is is your membranes. They're made out of phosphorus lipids, and they bump up to sulfur because they get irradiated up. They don't decay downwards. They bump up to sulfur, and I can show that very easily with isotopes. And I probably will. I should, because otherwise you won't believe me. All right, let's just start here. Phospholipids are the complex lipids that are the primary components of cell membranes. Everything in your body is a cell. They coat everything, and then they coat your lungs and your heart and your kidneys and all that. These are membranes, phospholipids. Phosphorus. All right, I said the isotopes of phosphorus, which is the membranes, can go up to sulfur, which is what they found. And the reason is because it's being irradiated. It's up on Mars. It has no atmosphere. This is what happens for decay. See the different decay modes? These are all different types of phosphorus. Now, the phosphorus below stable, these are unstable phosphorus. They decay downward to silicon, aluminum, and silicon, which was in the boiling hot floods. All feldspar, and almost all rocks are covered with feldspar, is aluminum silicates. You see it, silicates and aluminums? It boiled down from the membranes. That's why I called it fascia-facilitated fossilization, because this is the fascia. This phosphorus layer is the fascia. Now, what happens if you go above stability, where you're getting bombarded by extra electrons? It goes up, and it goes up instantly to sulfur. So all of this phosphorus that was in the membranes bumps up to raw, pure sulfur. You see that? Every single one of these is a pure sulfur. So anything that was above stability, which is all the irradiated stuff, is going to go to pure sulfur. And what happened was, when the irradiation hit these things below the layer of the surface, it created sulfur, because that's where the membranes are. All right, so let's see what they say. And I can show you that's exactly what happened. They ran over and crushed it. So don't forget, all feldspars are aluminosilicate minerals. Yes, all feldspars. Aluminosilicates boil down from the P, from phosphorus. Not hard to understand once you understand dipole electron flood theory and atomic bump. All right, so aluminosilicates are feldspar here on Earth boiling down. Sulfates and moving up to the sulfur, which is bumped up from the phosphorus. That's what happened up on Mars, because it's being irradiated, so it's forcing more electrons in. Here they're pulling electrons out because it's boiled out.